Today's show was brought to you by Reebok. Take your workout anywhere with the Nano X2 Adventure. Link in our description. Hey everyone, and welcome to our Rogue Invitational coverage brought to you by Reebok. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Today we are giving our men's field podium picks with Chyna Cho and Jamie Hagiya. Ladies, how's it going?
Hello.
We're changing it up. I know we normally talk about the women's field together, but now we have to look at the men's field, which as two competitors probably is a little more difficult because you obviously know all the women so well.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more challenging. We were talking about this earlier about like, what are really good numbers for a top guy? Like, what's a really good like row pace for a top guy? I'm like, oh, I kind of got like a ballpark range, but not exactly sure. Versus the women, I have like a much better concept of what's good and what's not, or what's strong and what needs work. And this will be fun.
Yeah, we definitely have to pay way more attention to the women's field because these are our competitors. You know them in and out. We've been competing against them and alongside them for a long time. But yeah, the men, not so much.
Not that they aren't exciting as well, but girls are just
Totally. Yes.
But we prefer to watch the ladies.
Yeah, both. I like both.
Yeah. That's why teams, you get the mix of both. The best of both worlds.
The best of both worlds. And at Rogue, you get the strongman too and the legends. I'm so excited with all of the different divisions. And I love how Rogue does it a little bit different than everybody else.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this earlier too. I think that Rogue is so unique and so innovative that everything they do is very true to what they believe in and what they make. And their concepts are just unlike any other. So I feel like their event really reflects that. They're not trying to be anything like anybody else, and they kind of just go to the beat of their own drummer, which is rad.
It's going to be exciting. A lot of fun things to see. But Jamie, let's take a look at your podium picks and tell us why you ranked the men in this order and how you came up with them.
Right, guys. So
I
know everyone has Justin in first, and I do love him. I think he is absolutely incredible athlete and competitor, and he is the reigning champion of the Rogue Invitational and current two-time CrossFit Games champion. But I just feel like there is something about Roman Krenikov that he can do it and pull out the stops this time around at this competition. And then obviously this was your top three men at the games. And I do feel like Ricky, making his comeback, and everyone was interested to see what he was going to do. And he did live up to the standards of what people had expected. So I do think that he's going to carry that momentum here at the Rogue Invitational.
And I think it's interesting, Jamie, having Ricky Garrard as third. Chyna and I did not put him in our top three, but with the men, I feel like there's a couple athletes that you can interchange, and based on the workout, it would change the ranking. So how did you ultimately get him in your top three picks?
So here's the thing, like, we don't know what the workouts are yet, which is also a big factor of that. I think if we had the workouts, we'd be like, okay, cool. You know who excels in these different things and what they're going to do well in. And then you can kind of place them a little bit easier with just a general ballpark of guessing of what they're going to be. And that they're usually into strength and and just fun, different workouts. I know they talk about Rogue, they have the Rogue, obviously the Echo Bike and strict handstand push-ups. And I guess Ricky isn't his biggest strength, but when you look at he did really well at the Capitol, he won that event, and that was some of that strongman implementation in there. And I do think they're going to throw some of that stuff in there. And I just think he has that fire. He does have that grit. I know we'll get to your picks later, but this field of men is just so stacked. With Guy pulling out, you did have the top 15 all from the games, but now it's 14 out of the 15. But literally out of the 20 men, anybody can jump into this top 3-5. It's a crazy field of men.
All right, Chyna, let's take a look at your picks.
All right, a little bit of a flip from what Jamie had.
Similar but different.
I totally agree that Roman, is very good and solid and had such a great thing at the games and has a lot to prove. But I think there's something to be said about the consistency of Justin. Not only is he the two-time champ, like you said, won the Rogue Invitational last year, he's a Rogue athlete. He's had experience at this type of event and the way that they run things. And I think that plays a big factor into it. And I also think that, even though he doesn't necessarily win a lot of events, He doesn't ever fall out of the top 5. And when you're looking at a weekend that's a little bit shorter than the CrossFit Games with not as many events, that's going to really play into his favor with his consistency. And then you talked a lot about Roman, so I'm going to talk about Jeffrey Adler. I think that guy is just so powerful and so explosive and so dynamic. And I think that Rogue, as a company, likes to put on a show, and everything is very spectator friendly and very exciting. So typically I'd say the time domains are a little bit shorter. You're not going to see a lot of like the Capital or the Bike to Work style workouts. You're going to see like what we saw last year with the elimination and the gauntlet and the duels and that kind of stuff and the explosiveness. And I think that Jeffrey's strength and Jeffrey's like powerfulness is really going to be a key factor for this event this weekend. So that's why I have him in my top 3. Not trying to not talk about Roman, but you kind of talked about him. But like I said, if you look at the games, they did that event. I can't remember what the triplet or whatever the event was with the yoke carry, the cleans, the deadlift, the cleans, and then he blew everyone out of the water. He's not a big guy, but he is so strong and so powerful and so exciting to watch. Again, that's why I have him in my top 3.
Good pick.
All good picks. And I honestly feel like with each of our podium picks, it could go any direction at this point. So we'll take a look.
People that I wanted to pick, but I'm like, we only get 3. Like, what do we do with, I mean, you know.
I know it would have been easier, I think, if we could pick like through 6.
Yeah, or 5.
Yes. Yeah, top 5 would have been nice.
Or top 5. That's for another episode.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so similar to Jamie, I did have Roman at the top. You know, it was a toss-up because I would agree with Chyna that Justin's consistency has really just proven his dominance right now. And he's won 4 straight live competitions, including his title from Rogue last year. So I think that builds momentum. But I also think Roman not having the stress of, am I going to be able to make it to the U.S.? Am I going to have visa problems? Like, he's living in the U.S. now. He's living in Wisconsin. He's getting into a training regimen. And I think that him also just being already in the US, he doesn't need to acclimate to a different time zone necessarily, or maybe it's a 1 hour time difference, but just like those little things that I think are really going to set him up for success once we get to Rogue. But again, I think that it's going to be a tough competition between him and Justin. I do think that it's going to be a close one, and we might see some flip-flopping with them throughout the weekend. But then our boy Patty V, I had to put him on the podium.
I know. Oh, I wanted to. It hurt my heart not to put him in there.
It was hard because I kept looking back and forth, and like I looked at Ricky, I looked at Adler, and it was just like, but I mean, Vellner's kind of proven himself at Rogue by being on the podium every single year at Rogue. Yeah. So I feel like it wouldn't be right to not have him on the podium, even if it doesn't come to life. I'm at least putting him on my podium for now. And, you know, he's one of those OGs that he just shows up when he needs to. And I think that he's going to do it again at Rogue. And I'm really excited to see how that all pans out. But stiff competition for the men. What are you guys most excited about for Rogue this year?
Me personally, is they always do something kind of out of the box. Like last year when they did the sandbag onto the pedestal thing, I was like, whoa, that was so rad. You know what I mean? Or they had that hill. Like, I'm just always so impressed with how creative they are year after year, not only for the CrossFit Games, but just with their equipment. They're always like upping the standard. So, not only with their venues, their, like I said, their equipment, their staff, their everything. So I just know that no matter what, it's going to be an incredible show for all of us.
And Jamie, I'm excited to see you there too. She's going to be part of the broadcast.
I am part of broadcast. I know Chyna, you did it last year, so I think it's so cool for you to be able to see that hill. Like when you talk about that, I'm like, to see it in real life, to be like, whoa, all this equipment, all the strongmen. What was that like seeing them in person? Was that crazy?
Incredible? And they're huge.
That's what I like.
They make CrossFitters look so tiny.
Right? You think that they're big, and then you stand next to them, and you're like, oh, hi. You know what I mean? They're like, it's crazy. And they're just the nicest people ever.
That's cool. Yeah, I think because we come from a CrossFit background, we're not around, I'm not exposed to a lot of strongmen. Like I haven't really seen a lot of strongman competition. And I mean, not a ton. I mean, I've seen it, but I haven't been around all the athletes. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I mean, obviously it's like a stacked field for men and women individually, but like the legends, these are just people that we, grew up like idolizing and just like help pave the way for this sport and for all of
our
these
greatest friends.
Oh yeah, like
yes.
And to catch up with them and just to see them out there is going to be so. And they're all so fit still. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They could be throwing down with individuals. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool elements that are going to be different. And again, Rogue puts on it is going to be a show. So that's what I'm like looking forward to. Everything's going to be fun and exciting and fast and strong and all that good stuff.
Fast, strong, sweaty, wild.
Oh, yeah. Muscles everywhere.
And then you just told me that Josh and Spiel are programming for it. I'm like, half of Josh's workouts that he posts, I'm like, why do you do that? So I think they're going to be in for a real treat with like the interesting elements and those two legends programming.
Yeah.
And the two of them are going to be competing in Legends.
This is crazy. I love it.
Yeah, a great mix. A great mix of everything. And I heard Josh, I watched the episode with them too on it talking about their programming. And Josh was just saying he kind of tested out some of the workouts. And he, when he says that these guys are beating their times or in the queue by minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's so fit. It's just the level of competition. It is really, I mean, everyone is so fit, but to evolve where you're beating all these other people by 2 and 3 minutes, it's so crazy and so excited to see what all these athletes do out there next week.
I know. I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting. Jamie, I will see you there. Chyna, we'll wave to you. We know you'll be watching the live stream. We'll be thinking of you as you're at the beach in Hawaii.
I know. Come join you after.
Exactly. Then a little vacation with you.
Yes. That'd be so nice.
Jamie, Chyna, thank you guys so much. This was fun. I guess we'll see what happens and who will have the reigning champion and top 3.
After this.
Oh, yes.
What do you guys want to bet?
I don't know.
Ooh.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out and then we'll.
Okay.
Yes, that's fun. I'm kind of
Stay tuned. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.